Awesome. Almost. All right. So thank you all for coming out this evening to the Avondale Climate Advisory Group Community Showcase. We're so excited to have this meeting with you all. We're going to dive into what a climate advisory group is, what climate safe neighborhoods is, and what your family and friends have been involved in for the past 5 weeks. So yeah, first off, my name is Kelsey Hawkins Johnson. I'm with Groundwork Ohio River Valley, and we have also Savannah here.
Hi, everyone. Savannah Sullivan, Senior Director of Programs at Green Umbrella.
Yeah, so we're gonna introduce climate safe neighborhoods, get you a rundown of like the vulnerability of Avondale. So we have an agenda here about what we're going to be talking about with you tonight. And like I said, we're going to introduce what climate safe neighborhoods is, why we're here, why Avondale. We're going to dive into an introduction to the Climate Advisory Group model and what that is. We have some member presentations who participated in the Climate Advisory Group on their experience and takeaways. And then we have a Green Cincinnati plan share out with some folks here from the city of Cincinnati. And lastly, we have a Q&A. It's going to only be for 15 minutes, but it's for you all to ask like your family and friends what they've been through, and if you have just any questions in general about anything else. And then lastly, we have just mingling at the end. So hopefully we have enough time for us to just chat afterwards. And we have a map here for you all to review and talk with Tiffany, the GIS analyst, as well. So getting started, Climate Safe Neighborhoods. So Climate Safe Neighborhoods is a program through Groundwork USA. And the purpose of Climate Safe Neighborhoods is to reach vulnerable neighborhoods who have been impacted by historic factors like redlining, which we'll dive into as well, and also the impact of race and how that intersects with where you live, as well as history and policies like that, and how that impacts decision making and having amenities like trees and community green space within your homes. So there are some goals with climate safe neighborhoods. We have 4 that we lead on, and one of them is exploring and communicating what racism is and how they intersect with other issues as well. We have supporting the capacity of residents to advocate for resources that they may have not gotten by like the government or other sources like that. Then develop and implement short-term mitigation measures. So these are solutions to combat climate, and it's like a short-term solution. And we'll dive into what some of those solutions are. And then the last goal that we lead on is impacting policy and making sure that community voices are prioritized at the end of the day, because we need the government and different policies to hear what has been happening in these neighborhoods. And so there's a climate safe neighborhoods here in Cincinnati, and it's through both Groundwork and Green Umbrella. And we call this a climate safe neighborhoods partnership. So we use this model, the Climate Advisory Group model, to lead us to talk about climate impact within the city of Cincinnati, as well as what climate resilience is and some of addressing that. Because there are issues like extreme heat and flooding, as well as air pollution within the city of Cincinnati. And then we hope to engage communities in climate planning. And so the Climate Advisory Group is a lot of that, which is climate planning and getting the city involved with addressing the needs of the community. And so a little introduction about Groundwork, and then I'm gonna hand it off to Savannah to talk about Green Umbrella. But Groundwork is an environmental justice nonprofit. We're located in Lower Price Hill. We have 3 programs that we integrate all of our programs into, and the subgroups is Climate Conservation Corps. This is our youth and young adult teams. So we do hire youth and young adults to do conservation work throughout the city of Cincinnati and also beyond as that. And then they also go to national parks as well. And then we have Climate Safe Neighborhoods, which is one of the programs that we're talking about today, which is where the Climate Advisory Group is within. And then lastly, we have citizen science, which is the air quality and water quality work that is housed within Groundwork Ohio River Valley.
Great, thank you, Kelsey. So a little bit of background on Green Umbrella. We are the Regional Sustainability Alliance in Greater Cincinnati. We work across a 10-county region in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. And we have a lot of different programs that are all about how can we get our communities, our governments, our businesses, our nonprofits, our universities, all taking action on climate. And we have a lot of different ways of going about that. One of the big things, of course, is this partnership with Groundwork to activate our residents in our neighborhoods most impacted by climate change directly into policy and planning. But we also have a lot of other stuff going on if you ever want to get engaged. Some additional climate action programs that we have. We have a climate research incubator where we are trying to connect researchers more meaningfully to communities who are seeking to take action on climate and how research can better serve communities. So we're just training those researchers and connecting them to the citizen scientists, for example, that Groundwork works with. We also are launching a climate fellows program. So how can we get community members and folks, of all backgrounds into positions of decision making in our local governments. So there's a fellowship program that'll be announced next month. And we are also working to create a regional climate action plan. So, if your neighbor's house is flooding and you're downhill from them, it might impact you. The same way works for cities. So if your neighboring city isn't taking action on climate, it might impact you. So we're trying to make sure cities across the region are taking action. We also are activating Cincinnati Public Schools, building green schoolyards across Cincinnati schools. We have a 2030 district, which is all about how we make buildings like this and others more efficient. We have a food policy council. So if you want to kind of tackle food insecurity and create more access to local and healthy foods in your schools, communities, and hospitals, and just any type of institution you can imagine, the council can hook you up. We also have a project dedicated to getting more orchards and trees producing fruits and different types of vegetable plants in public lands. We also host 2 big events per year. Great Outdoor Weekend, where we try to get folks outdoors across our 10 counties. And of course, the Midwest Regional Sustainability Summit. It's an annual conference, which is all about bringing together people from all backgrounds to talk about how to move our region forward on sustainability. We had over 600 people attend last May. We hope you can join us in May 2024. But as you can see, this is a really exciting partnership between Groundwork and Green Umbrella and many other partners based on whatever community we're working in. So we have some folks from Cincinnati Parks, if you can raise your hand, the city, if you can raise your hand, and we also have the zoo, if you can raise your hand. So we try to bring folks at the neighborhood level together here for the partnership, and Ohio Environmental Council. I see you there in the back.
Ooh. All right, so gonna do like a little introduction. The Climate Advisory Group members went through an introduction to climate change as well, but I want to give sort of like a context of what's going on here in Cincinnati and also nationally as well, and why it's an issue and why we're doing the work that we do. So this is just an article about climate change. Nationally, there are states and other countries that deal with extreme heat and flooding as well. It's not just here in Cincinnati. There's been a lot of wildfires and hurricanes that you all may have heard about in the news as well, and how some island countries are being impacted by that. And so just some articles here about just putting the national scope to the local work that we do here. So this is an example of Avondale and what it looks like in regards to air temperature. So, and that's an article as well about Cincinnati, about heat islands. And if you're not familiar about a heat islands is when there's an area in the city or just geographically that deals with a lot more heat. And that's due to like reducing, like there not being any trees, as well as other factors like that. So I want to have you all see like where Avondale is in regards to the vulnerability of climate, such as heat. And then we have some more data here. We got stormwater runoff, and this is just what Avondale is compared to other neighborhoods in the city of Cincinnati. And so you're able to see that Avondale deals with a lot of stormwater runoff as well. And it's particularly in the southern part of Avondale, and even moving towards the Ohio River and communities that live there, they deal with a lot of stormwater runoff. We have urban tree canopy data, and this also is publicly available by Cincinnati Parks. It's called their urban tree canopy dashboard, and you're able to have access to that as well. But this is what Avondale looks like compared to other neighborhoods in Cincinnati in regards to tree canopy. And so you're able to see that 86% where it's darker, there's more trees. And then where there's not a lot of trees in Avondale, you'll be able to see that as well. So this is also just to add to the conversation about what's missing and the different amenities that would be needed for Avondale to combat climate issues like flooding and heat. We got some more data here about the sewer overflows. And I may just start skipping through, but you're able to see Avondale, and this will be publicly available and is publicly available for you all. We can send this as a slide to you all just to see for yourself. We got some the data here of landslide susceptibility and how that relates to population density. And this is like the whole greater Cincinnati, but you're able to see Avondale up here a little bit, and there's in the darker spots of how there's a high like landslide susceptibility as well. Yeah. And then lastly, air toxins. So y'all may already know about air pollution and even noise pollution as well, and how that intersects within Avondale. But this is an example of the respiratory hazard that is within Avondale based off the data. And pretty much the whole neighborhood is impacted by air pollution. And this is all supported by the EPA EJ screen. And then some of the other data is supported by NASA developed. And then again, the data is from the tree canopy data, particularly is from the Cincinnati Parks Urban Tree Canopy Dashboard.
All right. So you all are here tonight because we take all that information and it's data, it's numbers, but we know that's not the full story. We know that another huge important part of understanding how climate impacts communities is hearing from the residents themselves, their stories and their expertise of how they're experiencing these types of impacts and more in their everyday lives. And so way back when, this is actually over 3 years ago now, we came together and with the city of Cincinnati, we were trying to identify opportunities to make sure that those stories could inform big picture policies like the Green Cincinnati Plan and big picture projects being implemented by the city and more. And so the process that we came up with through the partnership is called the Climate Advisory Group process. And this is working to connect with community leaders within the neighborhoods that are most impacted by climate and really elevate their expertise alongside these data that we just shared, and then really tell the story of climate change in these neighborhoods. So Avondale is now our 10th neighborhood that we've done a climate advisory group in. You can find online on our website the stories of previous neighborhoods, and you'll learn a bit more about them later this evening. But we got started with a grant from the National League of Cities that announced, an opportunity for communities to better understand how to engage residents that have historically been underserved by various resources, whether it's from city government or community partners. This story is very prevalent in Cincinnati, but it is across the country as well. So we were part of a cohort to better understand how can we meaningfully engage communities in planning and policy processes? And so that was way back in 2020, $10,000 grant, and we were able to host our first climate advisory group in Lower Price Hill. And what that looked like was we brought together about a dozen community residents who are leaders in different spaces, whether it was through engaging in food or engaging in childcare, or they had lived in that neighborhood for decades. You know, there's all forms of expertise that lends to better understanding the history of neighborhoods and can inform the action that we need to take in the future. And so what we've done in Avondale is we just sent out an open call to Avondale residents who wanted to participate in this process and help create the next step for climate action in Avondale. And so the purpose of this group, as we kind of emphasize, is to raise awareness about the data that I just shared, but also connect to the neighborhood history. So we worked collaboratively with the residents that you'll soon meet who are part of the Avondale Climate Advisory Group in order to create a deep understanding of the climate and also the sort of history of divestment and segregation and things that have led to certain neighborhoods having fewer resources than others. A next big purpose of the Climate Advisory Group is to then create a plan to collect ideas not only from the participants themselves, but their friends and neighbors. We went through a big survey process and we were able to collect ideas and incorporate that into a plan that you can see up here printed, but we're going to talk about it more with our participants themselves. And we did this through a series of meetings. So our climate advisory group participants have been meeting now for about 2 months, once a week, to be able to navigate this story of what are the priorities in Avondale and how does climate change exacerbate some of the challenges that already exist, and also to better understand their story of climate impacts. And you can see here, we met once a week very rigorously, and we are now here at the showcase where we are able to highlight some of not only the findings, but you're going to hear how they define resilience to Avondale and to the other residents that they've engaged. And at every step of the way, our participants were doing homework. Like this was hard work, and because it's work, folks were also compensated. We can't just rely on volunteering to get this work done meaningfully. And if people are doing work for this type of vision, they deserve to be compensated. So that's a core tenet of our program. And some of the homework included not only those surveys I mentioned, but actually mapping with them and their neighbors where they experienced certain impacts and also solutions that they wanted to see to address those impacts. Another thing, because this is in partnership with the city and trying to make sure this makes it into the Green Cincinnati plan, we did host a Green Cincinnati plan workshop, which you'll hear a bit more about later. And so I'm going to ask just our advisory groups to raise, or advisory group members to raise their hands right now. You can see all their names here. Yeah, give a round of applause. These folks have been working so hard, and we have so many stories to tell, and they're going to tell it themselves. And you can see a picture here. Actually, it wasn't just, mapping together and listening to lectures and stuff like that. We also had field trips. We went down to the Civic Garden Center. We brought in Tri-State Trails to learn about the Wasson Way Trail and opportunities that are forthcoming from that. So we're now going to move into hearing from the stars of the Climate Advisory Group. And we're going to go through different portions of this Climate Advisory Group story. And first and foremost, we reach out to folks with the goals of climate safe neighborhoods. And if it resonates with them, they applied and interviewed with us and then joined the Climate Advisory Group. So we're going to hear from 2 folks to share their story about why they joined. We're going to start first with, I'm going to go back to forward. So Stephanie, would you like to go first? I'm going to come to you.
Hi, I joined because I came back to the neighborhood. This is my second time living in Avondale, and this is so I wanted to be a part of what was going on. There are a lot of issues with plumbing backups, bad plumbing, trees that have been cut down for no reason, um, just to invade people's privacy. But I joined to try to be a solution, to try to bring awareness to our communities. There is not enough Black male involvement in our communities. That is a issue that we really need to address, and to, just bring our families back together. So I joined to help bring our families back together with our communities and hope to be a solution for that.
All right. And next we're going to hear from Miss Diana of why she joined.
Thank you. The Climate Advisory Groups and its affiliates, it's a valued resource for the city of Cincinnati, both for its work in promoting sustainability efforts and for its role in connecting people and organizations. On a macro level, the CAG has helped raise awareness of sustainability issues and to encourage people to take action. It has also provided a platform for people to share ideas and collaborate on projects. The CAG's work has helped to make Cincinnati a leader in sustainability. On a micro level, the CAG has made a real difference in the lives of people in Cincinnati neighborhoods. It is helping to build community cohesion and to make neighborhoods more livable.
Thank you, Diana. So next, we are going to hear a bit about the history of Avondale and some connections to some of the work that we're doing from Miss Sandra. Hello.
All right. Hi, everyone. How you doing today? So this is interesting to me. I'm currently now the new president of Avondale Community Council. This is my second time around and probably my 20th time of being on this board in the last 40 years. So when I thought about this group, the history of Avondale is so rich. I remember when I first moved to Avondale, all these different trees that are no longer here, the different colors that took place in the fall. I don't even think they change colors anymore. I'm gonna just be honest with you. So something is definitely going on that's not conducive to the real weather. So the history of Avondale, most of the folks know when we migrated here from the 1900s, it was this prominent community. It was like a farmland. Folks came here, they had their little small houses and big houses, and residents enjoyed the peace and quiet. And then as folks start traveling up Reading Road, which made it a road, I had one of the elders tell me, she said, we made it a road. I was like, how did you do that? But and so you got to go back and talk to some of our seniors that have been here for a long time, and some of the ones that have passed on. I mean, I've been doing the senior thing for 40 years, so a lot of those seniors are no longer with us. But the climate change, I mean, I'm asthmatic, and there's times I have to use my inhaler. So I know that it has a lot to do with what's happening here in Avondale, but not just Avondale, but throughout our city. So when I think about the history of Avondale and all those folks that walked through the streets here of Avondale, they really intended on us to stay healthy. That's why some of the hospitals and the institutions were put in this community so we could stay healthy. But things change as we continue to get industrialized and cars and the farmland going away, and Avondale has changed its dynamics more than I can count. I think the history of Avondale is still rich. I think the people in Avondale still care about Avondale, but when you have 75% renters, you really have to pretty much bring them into what is happening around us. Then you have the institutions that are in the community. We need to make sure that they continue to be community partners and keeping us healthy. Because when I see a little kid coughing and not able to stop, I'm not thinking cold. I'm thinking the air that he's breathing is causing him to have a reaction, and that's causing him not to be able to breathe correctly. So we have to think about the history of Avondale. What does that really mean? And I think as things continue to change, we want to change with it. So when I heard of this group, I automatically thought, wow, what better way to help our community to understand that in order for it to stay healthy, We got to plant some trees. We got to get rid of some of the overflow of the water. Remember when that flood took place? I don't know, a couple years ago, I got stuck on 71 myself, but there was drains that were never draining. And there was folks that, I mean, my street, Glenwood, looked like a river. That water was at least 10 inches high. That was a lot of water. I've never seen that much water coming down that street. And it was frightening as it was taking mailbox and moving cars. And it was something out of the movies. And all I kept thinking, what's going on? And so we need to be mindful that the history of Avondale never changed, that it continued to be a rich community. We need to engage the residents a little bit more. So as my new role as the president, that's my goal. Just so happened I had a Zoom call today with the health department. The air we share. I was like, oh, this must be the day of being able to breathe or something, right? And so my conversation with them was the same thing. How do you get the folks engaged and talking about our health so that we can live a long life? I mean, I have 2 inhalers in my pocket, right? And it really stemmed from pigeon droppings, from pigeons, when I was a roofer doing crew tires. And I thought about that when I see these birds around, are they clean? Are they healthy? No, they're not, folks. Just don't feed those pigeons, I'm telling you. But I want Avondale to be known for helping our community to get healthier. That's my slogan, to get healthier. And the air we breathe, it makes a difference. All right. So the Avondale history is rich. It's not going to go away. I don't want to talk about the riots and all that. When I moved to Avondale, I could still smell the smoke from the residual from those riots. And they didn't do nothing for this community. This community didn't really come alive until 1970. And it still struggled. I mean, we standing in a building where folks used to live that are no longer in Avondale. And so when I think of Avondale, I think about all the displacement that has taken place over the last 40, 50 years. Has that helped this community? No. You ever stand outside on this corner, there's 1,000,001 cars that's getting off that exit. And I remember one of our elders telling me 40 years ago, they're gonna put an exit over there between Dana and Taft. I'm like, why would they do that? There's an exit over there between Dana and Taft. That was 40 years ago. So I have a house over there on Glenwood Avenue. I told my sister, don't sell that house. I sold it to her 20 years ago. Now I'm trying to threaten her. You better not sell that house. Because 71 and Watson Way is now at her back door, right? And so the value of that property will continue to increase. But guess what? So with the displacement of those residents down Glenwood Avenue. So we need to be mindful. And we could talk about climate change, but why is it happening? It's happening because the people are no longer here. It's happening because the industries is taking over. The car pollution alone. I could tell you, I do not walk all after 11 o'clock in the morning because I can't breathe. That's not good. So if these kids are out and about and they can't breathe, guess what? We gotta fight for climate change. We gotta be involved. I tell you what broke my heart 2 weeks ago to watch that. All those folks from Libby wash into the ocean. That was horrible. All this is climate change that we're seeing around us. Everywhere we see, everywhere you go, every state, every country. So we got to do more. So being an advocate, seeing you all in here, I know we're going to win this war, right? Right? Okay. All right.
All right. And so, as mentioned earlier, we worked together as a group with all the members to create a resilience statement. What does it mean to have a resilient Avondale moving forward? And this statement that Ms. Kathy is going to read for us and share any other thoughts about it you want, Ms. Kathy. But this was collaboratively created by all of our members.
How y'all doing?
You got.
We believe that a sustainable community is one that is equitable. No, I ain't gonna be able to do it. I don't do it for me.
You got this.
Breathe a little bit. I'm gonna do one part. You gotta finish it because this is your job, okay? All right, we gonna do this together, okay? Get your breathing together because you gotta finish this, all right? Teamwork make dream work. Give me a high five. You got this. Take your inhaler. You got this. All right. We believe that a sustainable community is one that is economically viable, socially equitable, and ecologically integrated. Our community can become what we deserve. We are committed to take actions to protect our environment, improve our quality of life, and create a better future for our residents and business. Awareness is the key of empowering Avondale family. For better health, we hope to achieve climate justice for all residents of Avondale.
Thank you, team. Yeah, I mean, they collaboratively wrote that over 6 weeks, so it was really cool. It started off looking really different, and this is in its final stage. Great. So now we're going to move on to hearing a bit more about this mapping activity I described. We're going to have Damien share about, what was that activity and some of these outcomes that you see here. This was created by residents. And so these are real life observations of climate impacts in Avondale.
Yeah, like Savannah said, this was created by us over the span of time that we were all together. Our amazing person over there, Tiffany, made this map out of a bunch of surveys that we did, and we also went to other people in the Avondale community and had them take the survey so we can kind of get an understanding of what everybody in Avondale thought was impacted by or were big impacts by climate, or just overall the way that Avondale runs. And so over that time, we got this huge map here, and it's, that you can see up Reading Road that we have a lot of sunlight, or a lot of suns, and that means it's an area that is very hot, more than the rest of the neighborhood, because it's Reading Road. There's not as much trees like than you would see like outside your window to the left. But that's one of the focuses that we had on the map. And so there's other things like blighted areas, when there's litter and all other sorts of things. So we all mapped that out, and you can see how through what everybody had surveyed, that it's all, most of what we see is all in the same space. So we know that it's there. It's not just fake. It's everybody who did that survey put something in the same spot, or had other people put something in the same spot, because they notice it, they see it. And so we made this map so we can map out what is the problem, so then we can make a better plan to further better Avondale and hopefully better other communities.
And then they also surveyed their neighbors. So they got a chance to send out surveys to those in the community, and that was also added to the map as well. Let's see.
So we now want to move on to hearing some key takeaways from this overall process from two of our members. So, not only what are they walking away from in terms of learnings and these outputs like one Damien just described, but also, connections made throughout the process. So I'm going to start first with Elizabeth.
So I think one of the biggest takeaways for me, I'm not from Avondale. I'm not even from Cincinnati. I've only been in this area for 4 years. So one of the biggest takeaways was everything that I got to learn about the history and the people who are from here, and the resources and just the positive involvement that was involved with this group, and all the speakers that we had, and the everybody's just all the positive feedback and involvement that we got. I think something else that I learned was we talked about Avondale being a food desert. I know that because the closest grocery store to my house is Kroger, and that's the only grocery store by my house. But it was kind of eye-opening when we looked at a map and actually were I was hearing from other people and seeing how it impacts other people and not just me or my family. So that was one big takeaway. And we did talk about kind of ways to resolve that, or how the Avondale as a community could try to alleviate how that impacts its residents. Another big thing was the mapping activity that we all worked on. That was really another area that was like very very eye-opening to me also, because it's different when I'm driving around the street and I see, what I see, but to have it all put together in a map, and that's was very kind of like, I don't know the right word to say, but it was really like made me more aware of what's going on, and what I think needs to be done and what can be done to kind of help everything and alleviate the problems that we all kind of noticed as a group. So I joined the group because I wanted to learn. Basically, that was the main thing, because I feel like I have more to learn than to contribute at this point. And I think I did learn a lot. So that's, I guess, my biggest takeaway, and is to keep progressing and keep moving forward with what we learned in this group.
All right, and next we'll hear from Miss Jewel.
Good evening, everybody. When joining the Climate Advisory Group for Avondale, it's not on? Yeah, there you go. When joining the Climate Advisory Group for Avondale, I was aware of the climate changes happening in the country and the world, but I had not thought about its impact on my immediate environment. But through the Climate Advisory Group, I have become aware of the impact of car emissions, CO2, carbon monoxide, resulting in asthma, high blood pressure, and other ailments of living in an area where pollution is high. I see my continued involvement focusing on longer-term solutions, like finding options to lower MP 2.5 particles through more air monitoring in affected neighborhoods, and finding options for communities already affected by pollutants. In regards to health, I do not have all the answers for the issues that we now face, but I hope I can work to be part of the solutions in the future.
Amazing. Thank you. So next we're going to hear from Miss Jennifer. And this might look like the same map, but it's not. This is actually the action plan. So this is the solutions map. And Miss Jennifer is going to share about how we pulled that together, and then what observations and impacts we want to address through this plan.
Hello, everybody. My action plan was basically what Ms. Sandra says, getting back to what it used to look like in Avondale. At one time, we had a lot of trees. We had a lot of greenery areas. We cared more. And I think with planting those trees, it is so important, because in Avondale, life expectancy is so low. We don't have much oxygen. There's a lot of pollution. There's a lot of things done to us, but not that affects us in the wrong way. When there's a building being demoed, certain times they don't even do the right things to protect us, because that cloud just don't go away instantly. That cloud sits in our neighborhood. That's one thing I learned about it. I was always curious about air quality and climate control, because I lived in some of the underserved areas in the Black neighborhoods. When I lived in One Terrace years ago, I used to be like, why that flame is burning up there on that hill? Come to find out, that was Rumpke. I didn't know that was the burning station in Rumpke, and we live right there. And then I looked around, I said, wait a minute, how's this community in the middle of all these plants? How's everybody breathing? And then I looked at other Black neighborhoods, it was like, No wonder Cincinnati is industrial capital. They got all these industries and companies and buildings. And the things that Cincinnati was rich for is going away. And we gotta bring it back. We gotta, as a community member, Avondale, we have to bring it back. Cincinnati, Avondale is one of the most walkable communities. If you look at a lot of these communities, we walk a lot. A lot of people drive, but we walk a lot. And I know I walk every day. I don't drive. I catch the bus, lift, or I walk. Sandra get on me about walking so much, but I love walking. But I want to do what I can to make things better, not just for my generation, the next generation, and the next generation. Because the only way this is going to stop if we do what we're doing now together. We're doing it with great parks and green umbrella. This is something that should have been done a long time ago. Excuse me, because the only way climate is going to change if we give our input, they get their expertise. We learn the data, we can make things change. We learn so much. But what we do know is Avondale is literally a hot mess. Years ago, we had a lot of trees and it was a lot of shade. And then I started thinking the other day, I was like, why everybody so, in the summertime, you see people so angry. I said, well, if they stand up under a tree from that heat, they might not be as angry. You know, you go to other neighborhoods like my daughter, she's staying White Oak, trees everywhere. I mean, it smells different, it look different, people are friendlier. It's some things we need to bring back to Avondale and other neighborhoods, but I think the key component is we work together. I heard somebody talking about being in a food desert. That's another way we could work with climate for us. Because if we plant and what we eat, we ain't got to worry about pesticides. We ain't got to worry about things that's not affecting our body in the wrong way. And that's been a big issue as far as the food industry. We get some of the wrong things in our body and the outcome is speaking for themselves because we got so many diseases, so many this and so many that. So it's not good. And I think the key component is if we get back to our roots, if we all get back to our roots, because God gave us this land to take care of it. And we got to take care of it because he gave us everything we need. We've been looking at all the wrong places because it's right here as far as our dirt. We could test our dirt, make sure they contaminated. I remember, I think it was about 20 years ago or so when that plant in Norwood, about 25, 30 years, the plant blew up. And I was working for Metropolitan at the time, and I was wondering, why is it that this plant over here on Dana is affecting the people in Evanston, Avondale, St. Bernard? It was affecting a lot of communities, but they didn't inform us on how was it affecting us. They wasn't telling us that a lot of people was dying from cancer from that plant. A lot of seniors, it's like at one time, so many senior buildings was losing so many seniors. Right after that explosion, it's like we had to do all these tests. We had to do some tests in the air, cleaning up the building, cleaning up the outside, cleaning up the dirt. We had a lot of stuff to do, but I think that played a part too. And another thing that a lot of people don't know about Cincinnati, there's a lot of sinkholes. We have a whole lot of sinkholes. I'm nosy and I look at 48 a lot. And the reason I want to know because fracking, drilling, I'm like, won't all this stuff affect our community if they digging, if they drilling, if they, making this and making that? And it does. We might not see the effect of that building get built here, but down the street, they might see the effect of it. Years later, it's like a little crack. It might grow into a little crack and then eventually is expand. Now you need to get your foundation done. Now you need to get this. But I think if we all just come together on how to co-create, not just them doing the work, we got to all do it together. Because if we live in a community, they have the data, we can all work together and see how can we bring back the vibrancy of Avondale. It's here. I'm also on the Walston Way Trail, and Walston Way told me, they was like, Jennifer, what are you talking about? I was like, we need some trees. I know some lady got some trees. I know some lady got some land. I mean, we need to get them to work with us, which is true. Because I have been walking in the area that's really contaminated for a long time, man. It was just my peaceful area for my mental trauma that I had been going through, but that was the perfect spot for me. Now that area is going to get open. There was a lot of homicides in that area. There was a lot of squatters. There was a whole bunch of stuff. But a lot of people didn't know. I stay on Blair, and at the end of Blair is that Walsaway Trail. A lot of people say, how you go to the grocery store? Well, I walk through that trail. I've been walking through that trail to go to Norwood for years. And that's why I wanted to get on the Walsaway Trail. That's why I got on the committee. I remember when I met Wade ain't had no kids. Eli was just now conceived. Now, Eli just turned 13. And I was like, I've been knowing you that long. But it takes us growing together, getting to know each other together, and keeping that hope, just that desire up front. And it's a lot of hard work. I'm in meetings on top of meetings. If y'all see me now, I'm in the meeting, on the meeting. Actually, the Louise Shropshire family, because I did a mural in Avondale, I had got invited to a viewing of a movie of the Louise Shropshire. So if y'all see me over here for 4 hours, that's what I'm doing. So I have to do that. Y'all will see it later on Netflix, I don't know what, but let's all change the environment together. That's the key component. We got to change it. And I think our next core should be youth, because youth know how to make some things change. We need to really work on working with the youth to see how can we make it better. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you, Ms. Jennifer. And one thing we like to emphasize about these plans that neighborhoods make is that they are not only incorporated into and shared with like city parks, Cincinnati parks and the city of Cincinnati to implement on. We have stories from previous neighborhoods we've engaged where, you know, trees have been planted from these maps. Steps have been taken to implement on the vision of these maps, not only by government, but community partners. And it's a living document. So it's something that we want to work with community councils to incorporate into their neighborhood plans. So it's a really all hands on deck. And like Ms. Jennifer said, co-creation is the goal. But, you know, there are a lot of ideas on that map. And we know a really important part of implementation is prioritization. So we also worked with the Climate Advisory Group to better understand what are the priorities, like given their deep understanding of their neighborhood and the history, what are the top issues? So we're now going to hear from Ms. Serena, who's going to share about the key priorities in Avondale.
Hey everyone. These issues came up consistently. We've talked about food a lot, but that it's just as important as number two. These, I would say, I think we could all agree are equal in all of our minds here. For food, we want local access, so we don't have to get in our cars to go and access food. And then for green space and trees, it's very evident. You see the map. This is really important. That's where we want the money to be placed. And then these other issues came up several times as well. It's all interconnected. So this is important to us, and that's where we want to see the investment financially from the powers that be. Yes, in the future. So. Okay, yes. And moving into the future of the Climate Advisory Group, we would like to see it located in a residential area of Avondale to get more community engagement. So that way it does not appear that this is another thing happening to Avondale, but in Avondale, Hirsch, the community building, the library, churches, you have options. So we want to also see, I like what Ms. Jennifer said about co-created solutions, because like we've been mentioning, a lot of things are happening to us and we want more of the community engaged. It's great that we've been involved, but we are only a portion of the residents in this community. So we want to see more co-creation, co-management of these solutions, because a lot of solutions can become flash in the pan if they are not managed and involving the community. And it's not just involving one community engagement specialist, but bringing in the community for solutioning, and really just engaging more of, as mentioned, the youth, but also just more engagement from the collective body of residents, and not just surveys, but active solutions. So that's what we want to see in the future.
And then just to add on some of the next steps, we'll be creating a story map of like all of the resilient plans, their climate impact plans. All of that will be consolidated onto a website. And there's also a dashboard that will be updated as well. Here's just some project-based solutions based off what was on their climate resilience plan, and working with partners that's in the community to uplift these plans and the community needs is really what we strive for and what we hope to accomplish after the wrap up of the Climate Advisory Group. So definitely the partners that are here in this room, like the Office of Environment and Sustainability is one, Cincinnati Zoo and Cincinnati Parks, collaborating with them as an important next step to uplift the community and what they would like to see within that. And I'm here to introduce also the Office of Environment and Sustainability, who's here today. They're going to talk a little bit about the Green Cincinnati Plan. And if you recall at the beginning, there was a Green Cincinnati Plan workshop in the agenda for the advisory group. They got an opportunity to attend the Green Cincinnati Plan workshop and uplift and input what they would like to see the city accomplish as well. So if we can have Perry present about the Green Cincinnati Plan and also what was accomplished in the Green Cincinnati Plan workshop.
Hi, everyone. So you might remember from last week, we talked briefly about from the workshop 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Green Cincinnati Plan. It's essentially the city's comprehensive approach to climate change mitigation in Cincinnati. So basically everything that the Office of Environment and Sustainability does is integrated into all of the input that goes into it from the community. So from steering committees that they went through in 2023 to the Green Umbrella benchmarking equity committees, a lot of the community's input went into the creation of the Green Cincinnati Plan. So the goal of the GCP workshop was to ensure an understanding of the why, what, and how the Green Cincinnati Plan was created, how the climate safe neighborhoods efforts fits into that. So how is the information that you guys are coming up with when you do this program is helpful for us when we come in and help you do the work that needs to be done in the communities. What's happening with the implementation so far, and how the city and key partners can involve prospective Avondale residents moving forward, and how do we engage further as an individual and organization. So these are some of the pictures that we took last week. So we had 31 residents in attendance. So there were 5 stations and over 50 ideas that we gathered from all of your input. So one of the stations was the Avondale Solves, which reviewed Avondale Climate Equity Indicators Report, identified biggest concerns, and brainstormed top opportunities for action. Some of these included a very nice list you guys put together. So we have some of the biggest concerns are car travel, family cooking, so food access, lack of home ownership and absentee landlords. And some of the opportunities for action and change that we came up with were accessible jobs, grocery stores, free libraries, access to trash cans and recycling bins in these areas. And in the Avondale Invest station, we imagine that you and your neighbors have $10,000 to make progress in Avondale on sustainability, equity, and/or resilience What would you propose and what groups would be best positioned to help lead that already exist in your community? And these include centers for kids to play games, garden access, grocery stores seem to be a common theme, cooking classes using fresh foods from gardens, urban league could help with any of these. UC, Elizabeth Thompson, Groundworks. So those are some of the organizations that were suggested to partner in addressing these issues. And then another one of the stations was the Avondale Champions, which again touched on what organizations should OES be sure to invite to serve as a champion. And reviewing the list of the sampling of champion strategies currently in need of leadership and champions. So right now, OES is continuing support Avondale leaders in prioritizing the biggest concerns and opportunities in Avondale and creating solutions related to Avondale climate resiliency maps and advocating for green infrastructure implementation, as well as funding brainstorming for funding is helping the city. I'm sorry, let me restart. Funding brainstorm is helping the city to develop a new climate justice focused funding opportunity for neighborhoods like Avondale to pursue. As well as Champions recruitment landing page is now live on our website. So you can reach out to potential champions listed in the previous slide here, as well as individual follow-ups in that process. So we're gonna keep pushing on and getting more people involved in the conversation that needs to be had. Of course. Thank you for bearing with me. I am not a public speaker. You are good.
So just to summarize, Green Cincinnati Plan is one action step with the Climate Advisory Group, with the resilient plans and working with the city, working with additional champions that are in the neighborhood as well. Community Council. So we got some folks from the Community Council here, Ms. Sandra and also Jennifer as well, and working with you all with the Avondale Quality of Life Plan, just helping support that and any other work that you all have going on as well, and how to make sure that climate resilience is a part of the conversation. Implementation is another action step. You also like the resilience plan and some project-based solutions, working with partners to implement some of the green amenities like trees and community green spaces and things like that. Oh yeah, and lastly, I almost forgot, the air quality program we have through Groundwork Ohio River Valley is the next step with the advisory group. So supported by the EPA, there is an air quality grant to have residents monitor the air within their homes and in their environment. So we're excited for this next steps for the advisory group to continue on engaging with the Climate Advisory Group and also about air quality and uplifting their neighbors and education around air quality. Oh, and then Savannah also has another next step.
We forgot to add here too that starting next month, the Regional Climate Action Plan for Greater Cincinnati will kick off. And so we will be working to make sure that the priorities that come through climate safe neighborhoods are going to be incorporated into that. And if there's any part of that process you all want to engage in, that will be announced on October 18th. But the goal there is that, you know, city government definitely has jurisdiction over a lot of these issues, but so does county government, and so do regional planning organizations. And there's just many layers to the types of, you know, decisions that we can elevate the Climate Safe Neighborhoods Partnership and the Climate Advisory Group members' voice into. So, you know, contact Green Umbrella if you want to get engaged with that. But we're definitely going to make sure that your maps and your plans here inform that regional plan.
And then more ideas, if y'all have anything about some next steps, we would love to hear it. We do have a survey at the end that would help to help us get to know more of like what you all are thinking in regards to what you would like to see as well. So that would be distributed at the end. So now we have a Q&A portion. This is an opportunity to ask questions about the experience of the Climate Advisory Group. If you need more information about the process, what all goes into an advisory group, the experiences of the members. So this could be an opportunity to ask them questions, or if you have questions for us, but definitely ask the members first, because we'll be available at the end to answer any questions as well. So we have we have plenty of time. Now that I'm looking. So yeah, so if anyone has any questions, this is an opportunity to ask. Yeah, so I'll walk around as well if anyone has any questions. You can come to mind. All right, we got 2 questions here in the back.
A 2-part question. First, I was wondering, I might have missed this, but with the resident surveys for looking at climate risks and impacts in Avondale, I was curious as to how many residents were incorporated into that survey. And secondly, I'm just really curious to hear from Climate Advisory Group members, what are your next steps from here? Are there opportunities for you all to continue to connect and keep the momentum going?
So I can answer the first question, and then if anyone from the advisory group want to answer the second one as well. So we consolidated about like 25 surveys from members, and this was distributed by the community, not the community, my apologies, the Climate Advisory Group. And so we're gathering all that information, and that has been input into a spreadsheet. And our hope is to continue building on folks' input about what's currently happening within the neighborhood as well. We have like a live result dashboard that is helping us to add all of the surveys and information from the advisory group. And then the second question was for the advisory group members. So. Oh, either or.
Everybody ain't nothing but a call away. We stuck together. I mean, we close now. I mean, it don't stop here. We got more work to do. The work just now getting ready to begin. And the other team that come behind us, we'll be close with them too. I think that's the key component, is keeping our relationship going to make things happen and impactful.
Yeah, kind of like what she said. We just started, you know, and we haven't finished what we tried to do. Not like that, like we didn't complete what we, but I'm saying like there's still so much work to be done. So like for me, I continue to try to be a youth advocate in my community, because I know, as we stated, there's not a lot of male roles or people in Avondale who understand really what's happening or care enough to you know, talk about it, try to fix it. So me, I've been blessed to, because I wasn't born in Avondale. When I moved to Cincinnati, I lived on the west side, and I lived on Lynn Street. So we had problems there. And so when I moved to Avondale, and I noticed that there wasn't a lot of people my age or males who also like understood the problem that was happening not only in Avondale but everywhere. I feel like I needed to take a role and to step up and kind of like, you know, get some people, some youth in my community and just around Avondale to kind of get understanding what was happening. And I still continue to plan to do that because it's so important and vital, because like I've stressed to Tanner and other people all the time, it's like we're the next generation. Like if we're not educated on it, if we're not learning about what's wrong in our neighborhoods, in the world, it's just going to get worse. There's not going to be progress. There's not going to be any positive outcomes out of that. So that's what my future plans are, and using the information that I learned here and seeing where certain aspects of what the problem is in Avondale specifically, to educate people of my age on those things, especially my brothers and sisters, or well, my sister, you know, it's like that's super important to me. So that's what I plan to do with the information I learned here and just with the overall information. So yeah.
Anybody? All right. Oh, okay.
So although I've been involved in Avondale all of my adult life, I noticed that when you don't engage the residents of your community, you really don't have a community. And so it's so important right now to see this young person here, to incorporate that information through everything we do. Robin has a Knife Youth program that she's doing with our kids. We got to create an environment where they want to be involved. And so, although I'm the president of Avondale Community Council, that's just a name. My role is to get the residents of Avondale to be a part of Avondale community, not so much as the council, but the community. So I think if we can continue to make that a part of our platform, and every meeting we have, my goal, we have only had one meeting, right? It's going to be action. So all the board members, there's 13 of them. I made Jennifer the VP. You know why? Because she's everywhere. And she's everywhere. But she also can bring that information back to the board and say, guess what? Next month, there's 5 meetings and some of you guys need to attend as well. I can truly tell you for the last 5, maybe 10 years, the board has been dormant. They just come to a meeting, wait till next month, come to a meeting. It's not gonna happen this time. You're gonna be given an assignment. And so every time they come back, I have an expectation that you have attended some of the meetings that Jennifer didn't told us about, right? Only because we got to get the other residents involved. It's nothing like going into a senior building and you say, it's election time and nobody voted on August the 5th or the 8th, when it was. I mean, I went into a building, I was giving out $20 to whoever voted. That shouldn't be. First of all, they didn't know it was an election. That shouldn't be. So we as a community, we got to put the word out. This group here, I think, can have more legs when we get more people, especially those young folks, because they could do all the walking, because I'm not doing all that. See, I got a cane and everything. I ain't doing all that. But what I will do, I'll keep running off at my mouth, is galvanizing, getting people and going to our churches. At one time, Avondale had 55, 60 churches. Now it's like 42. That's not a lot of people. And most of the folks don't live here in Avondale. I call them drive-by Sundays because they drive right back out of here. What would make them stay? Having something of substance that they want to stay. Hey, look what they're doing over there. Like this Saturday, I asked you to come to the Avondale Day. It's Avondale Fun Day. It's going to be at South Avondale School. The kids are going to be involved. Guess what? A better opportunity to recruit more members for this community. And we're going to take advantage of that because they're going to come out and eat. We've already paid for the food, right? So they're coming. There's games, there's blood pressure check. So they're already going to be there. So what better way to say, you know, by the way, I'm part of this group that's a part of the climate change. What do you think about Avondale environment? What better way? Just strike up a conversation. So I retired from Hamilton County Development of Disability Services, and one of my jobs was to talk. That's what I did, because I had to let folks know that folks with developmental disability belonged in the community. So I did a lot of talking and I met a lot of different people, and guess what? They are still involved in the community. But you have to do things intentionally. You have to say, guess what? And then speak to people, right? I don't know you, but I can say hi. And then while I'm saying hi, guess what? What are you into? They mean, what do you mean? What do you think about the climate? You just start talking. What do you think about joining Avondale Community Council? What church you go to? I go to Corinthians. Where you go? You just got to start talking and inviting people in. Because as I get older, I'm 62 now. I don't see myself at this 5, 10 more years. I don't have the energy. I had 12 major surgeries. My body is shifting. So guess what? I got to recruit young people. And that's my job every day. I find 5 a day.
Yeah, for sure. And then I still.
And I guess kind of the further answer your question from earlier, if bringing this information to other people, you know, like I stand, like my focus right now is environmental injustice, and in Avondale there's a lot of that. You know, we're a majority Black community, one, So that's obviously we're not going to get prioritized as a community like Walnut Hills or, you know, I don't know, this area in Ohio, Milford. Just saying. But like, if we don't talk about some of the stuff that's happening in Avondale, like, you know, water main breaks, flooding, the stuff like that I spoke about earlier, you know, the being very, very hot on Reading Road, being unsafe. If we're not, you know, being advocates for that, and then when we go tell the city that those things are happening, and then we're the last ones to for them to come to and help, that's our fault because we don't have enough people in our community, you know, advocating for that, realizing that all they can do is just talk about it, but there's nobody going ahead and what's the word? Advocating for it, you know. And so that's what I also want to take from what we've done here, especially now that I've seen the data. So I know that there's people that see these things. There's just not enough people talking about it, and that's why we're not prioritized and we're left out in some certain things. So like where city money goes to, it's not going to go to us because we don't come out and tell people what's going on, and that's very important. So yeah.
So Damien, thank you very much for your leadership and all of you, really. I mean, it's been an honor. Every one of these climate advisory groups that I'm a part of is a great honor just to be a part of your learning process, delivering the information. As a government agent in the Parks Department, managing the trees across the city, I know that the map that you have right there, the Reading Road map, is the same map that we got in Bond Hill and Roselawn, that whole corridor, right? So not only having a key voice in this community, but partnering with our other communities that have also gone through this process is going to be key to full implementation. We have the partners here. We will continue to build, we will continue to implement. And as we go through each one of these climate advisory groups, the number one thing, the easiest thing that we can start to do is get trees in the ground. And so this November, Bond Hill, Roselawn and Bond Hill were just done climate advisory groups last year. We have 200 trees going in the ground in November, right? But the big challenge that we still face is like the climate advisory group came, they spoke, the map was built, but it's hard to keep people engaged. So, and that's the hardest thing for me as a manager of 52 community trees. I don't have the capacity necessarily to put that energy into each individual community. So that's where I really, really, really need each and every one of you to continue to come out, to continue to advocate, and to continue to tell me what you want, because I work for you. And the same for every other department. The only way we're going to actually change Reading Road is if they completely redesign it. It is too skinny to put more trees on, and every tree we stick in the ground ends up dying. The road is way too fast for people to cross, and that ain't going to change unless we do a road diet. We can put in a bunch of speed bumps and that'll just slow them down intermittently. So there's big work to do. And I just want y'all to know, like, I'm here, I'm along for the ride, and it's an honor to ride alongside you.
All right. Do we have any follow-ups to that, or does anyone have a question that didn't have the opportunity to ask yet? Okay. Yeah.
I just want to tell you thank you for the 12 neighborhoods that y'all did do, because we got 52, and I can't wait till you get to Avondale. Reading Road is part of the corridor, but we got a lot of other issues where it's not safe. We don't have no sidewalks, like Glenwood. You got to walk down that street, and you walking in the street, there's no sidewalks at all. Yeah, we got a lot of trees, but there's no sidewalks. And it's like, you know, a lot of our kids are getting run over. A lot of elders are getting run over. So it's not just kids getting run over in Avondale. And it's like, you know, yeah, they put the speed bumps, but guess what? They done figured out how to get it past them. So they speeding, bumping, flying. It's not stopping anything. It's causing more of a chaos now. And it's like, ooh, now it's backed up traffic. It's just a lot going on. But like you said, if we get more people in the street, more feet to stand and stay strong and really demand what they really want, then our community will look better. But it's like, yeah, we talk, we go to meeting after meeting, but nothing ever happens. Once things start really happening, then other people start seeing it and then they want to be a part of it. But until they see action, nobody wants to be a part of a talk.
I'd like to say something. Crystal invited me to this. I'm with BYLC Camps and Clubs, Build Your Own Computer. And I have a high interest in the Avondale community. I have a high interest in a lot of underserved communities because that's our target to teach kids tech. So I'm not focused on climate per se. I'm focused on teaching our youth technology for their future growth. But I am very interested in teaching our young people from underserved minority communities and to understand the climate, environmental issues. It has a relationship in education. So I'm very interested in that. And I'm very interested in Avondale because some of my sponsors are very interested in Avondale. So I've become very interested in Avondale. So long story short, I don't know how I can actually contribute, but I am interested. So we can have a conversation about, what was that, Sandra? You'll find me something to do. Like, I don't already have enough, right? But I am very interested. I'm glad I came today to hear this and understand the work that's been going on, because as an individual, I'm very concerned about the climate, like many individuals are, and to see this kind of action to improve the environment in our communities, I'm very happy about that. So I guess I need to talk to somebody about how I can engage. Okay, okay.
Thank you for coming.
I saw like some hands. Who want to go first? You. And then Jennifer, I think, yeah. We'll wait. You have any?
I think one of the things that I think I learned from this group, I wanted to learn more about water. I written a letter to the waterworks. I was like, y'all got a school or something I could go to? Because I need to learn about water now. I need to learn how I think it was her husband. He was mentioning something about the water. So me, although I don't pay no water bill, but I want to know, how can I educate myself to help educate others, or how to save, what to do, what can help with recycle water. I don't know what I want, but I know I need to educate myself about water because it came up in the climate advisory. And I want to understand, how can I help teach others these important information, especially if you're a homeowner. If you're a homeowner, you want to know how to get perks, how to, and I want to share that information with all the homeowners in anywhere, or if I could find out a way to help you sustain water, use less water, or how the mechanism, because we're supposed to go somewhere. I start a day before my birthday in October. I was like, Jennifer, what are you doing? You supposed to took a vacation. I was like, no, I might not get this opportunity again. And that's the thing I had to think of, because a lot of times, a lot of Black people don't get them opportunities and we miss out. So I think it's important for us to be there to share that information, because a lot of us don't know. And the more we could share to share with others, that's like teaching someone, training a trainer, or teaching somebody else some information. It might not impact me, but it impact us as a community.
All right, I think we got 5 more minutes. I want there to be opportunity for us to mingle. We do have some surveys for y'all to fill out. There's also opportunity to check out the dashboard. There's a Climate Safe Neighborhoods dashboard that we hope you all will be able to interact with. It's public. You get to see your neighborhood and the different environmental and historic factors that, is a part of it. So we got time for at least one more question or a follow-up to what was talked about this evening. Anybody has one? All right, well, oh, you got some. Oh, yeah, it's the survey. Oh, you just added that. My bad.
I wanted to make sure, especially after hearing Damien talking about advocacy, just to highlight that Groundwork has worked really closely with Mika Owen's office at City Council to help create a youth environmental council. They've been doing a lot of advocacy. Damien's been a part of that. Also wanted to highlight an advocacy opportunity that's coming up next week. So Green Umbrella, with these partners listed here, we are hosting a climate candidate forum. If you want to hear your city council candidates and school board candidates answer your questions, please join us next Wednesday. It'll be in this room. We've been in this room a lot the last couple months. We'll be here again. And we'll have most of the city council candidates and most of the school board candidates here sharing their climate platforms, but most of the time will be spent answering your questions. So you'll receive follow-up information about this after this event, and you can submit your questions by the end of this week to make sure that they are included. And you can register for free at the event. There will be some refreshments and a lot of candidates, and as well as mingling time with the candidates themselves.
All right, well, I just want to say thank you all for coming out tonight. We have like 30 minutes until 7:30. So it's just an open time for us to get to know each other. There's a lot of food, so please take some to go or, eat some here. We got the room till 7:30. We have the climate resilient plan here. If you have any questions about that, if you want to take a look at it, and Tiffany, our lovely GIS analyst, has the iPads for you all to take the survey, as well as to get to know the Climate Safe Neighborhoods dashboard. We got some partners here as well. So if you're interested, folks got their name tags on if you want to talk to folks. And yeah, thank you all so much for coming out. I want to thank the Climate Advisory Group for your participation and, being a part of this long process, but the work doesn't stop. So we'll be following up with you all afterwards. So yeah, if y'all got any questions, please reach out to us. We'll be here till 7:30.
When do this start? And when did the monitor? Because I've been looking for the monitor in my apartment.
Yeah.
And somewhere like on Burn.
So we'll let you know when it starts. We're waiting for the EPA to give us their green light.
Okay.
But we got all the information. We have all the people. We have you. You're definitely in the group because whoever goes through the advisory group will be in the air quality program.
Okay, okay. One of those TPA monitors.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, a lot of really good information. Thanks. I'm Howard. I work with OES. Yeah, you too. It's great work.
You did well.
Yeah, you did awesome. Everybody did awesome when you're out.
Even just
really
saying
good.
yes to presenting.
It was really a lot of good information. These get better every single time.
All right, I got the